back at it. I want to have a little conversation that sparked my interest from 50 Cent's book, Hustle Harder, Hustle Smarter. Now, one thing 50 Cent touched on is he hires two different types of people, like higher end MBA graduates and then people he knew like growing up, like, through life that didn't go to college, right? Now, one big thing that he noticed is with the top tier and like with a lot of college graduates, we're overthinkers, right? We're perfectionists. We deal with imposter syndrome. We put a lot of pressure on ourselves. Now, let's kind of unpack where this all comes from, right? So, for starters, usually when someone graduates college, there's these high expectations. Like, hey, you're supposed to go down, one path. Your career is supposed to perfectly fall in line with your education, which this is not normally the case. A lot of the time we're multi-passionate, right? We might be interested in medical, but we might want to lean toward technology. So you might look into like healthcare informatics, right? Or we might be interested in tech, but we want to be creative. We're trying to figure out a way to get into like graphic design or to become a creative director. So the biggest thing is there's not really one lane, right? I heard a saying once, lanes were created, right? So a lot of the time we're kind of maneuvering through, not necessarily blindly, but there isn't really a lot of guidance and direction, right? So how this kind of plays on us is we kind of overthink. We second guess ourselves when it comes to making decisions at work. We're used to being graded in the education system, so we're always kind of wondering if we made a mistake, if we got something wrong, if we need to be micromanaged, are we doing this right? So it kind of is like one of the negatives with higher education is like it kind of creates this inner monologue that we have with ourselves where we're like, hey, am I getting this right? Because in school, in education, you either get the F or the A or maybe a C in your passing, but in the career space, you're literally making decisions that affect other people or affect the organization, right? And it doesn't really come with a grade, right? Now we can't get fired, right? Don't get me wrong. However, for the most part of it, a lot of the times where I see college graduates and like people like myself where we can kind of beat ourselves up or put pressure on ourselves is from a lot of the grooming that we had during our education. So it's kind of a little think piece on, definitely I would say find ways to not burn out and ways to not overthink if you can. I know we all get hit with paralysis by analysis. There's a bunch of different ways we can do something, a bunch of different options in our career, so we don't want to get stuck, right? We don't want to get stuck and we don't want to put all this pressure on ourselves and beat ourselves up, right? One little think piece I think was super helpful.